Okay. Also, we're going to begin the new series for which we gave an introduction last week about the Midot. And there are approximately 36 of them that I compiled. So we have several months to go to cover the whole series on Midot, human nature, character, and the like. So, can anyone guess which one will be the first Midah we're going to talk about? Of all the Midot you can think of, all the characteristics, strengths, and weaknesses, which one do you think I chose as the first one? Yes? To love your brother, but that's not really a Midah. You can say Ahava, love. Anger, stress. Anybody else? Well, how did you know? Yeah? Jealousy, envy. Now, but why would you think I would choose Kina? Kina, B'ezrat Hashem, will be the first Midah we will talk about, envy or jealousy. It is the first Midah because in reading Sefer Bereshit, especially Parashat Bereshit and Noach, one will find this particular Midah quite extensively. Beginning with Cain. Cain murdering his brother Hevel as a result of Kin'ah. But we also have Ta'ava, the desire, the coveting. We have Kavod, the pursuit of honor. But Kin'ah happens to be a very important midah to talk about because the rabbis tell us of all three, Kin'ah, Ta'ava, and Kavod, Kin'ah is number one. They put Kin'ah in place number one, position number one. And what do they tell us about this midah, along with the midah of Ta'ava and Kavod? Sha'kin'ah, ha'ta'ava, va'kavod motzi'im et ha'adam min ha'olam. These three in particular, there are many characteristics, remember? These three in particular, jealousy, ta'ava, to covet or to desire, and the kavod, or the pursuit of honor, to want to be honored, to want to be respected. All of these, motzi'im et ha'adam min ha'olam. They remove him from this world. And you ask yourself, wait a minute, which world? This world or the world to come? And the answer is from both. From this world, because he lives a miserable life. He always wants things that he cannot get his hands on. He's always jealous. He's never happy. So the common sense idea of why this midah removes him from this world is that he may die prematurely from a heart attack, from jealousy. He does not have a healthy, good life. So it removes him from this world. It removes him also from the world to come, because as a result of kinah, he may commit many transgressions, many averot, and he may lose his olam haba, as we will soon see examples. So this is a very, very difficult midah that can ruin a person's life. Rabbis take us one step further and they tell us something very interesting. The pasuk says, "Rekev atzamot kinah." It is like rot, like decay to the bones. What is kin'ah? When you read the pasuk in Mishlei, that this is like a decay or rot to the bones, you ask yourself, what does that mean? Well, it means two things again, in this world and in the grave. Rekev atzamot kin'ah, it is a terrible disease, like decay in the bones. Right? It's something that a person suffers from while he is alive. So that's a description of his suffering. It is also a description of what goes on in the grave. The rabbi tells whoever had an abundant amount of kin'ah during his lifetime, his bones rot. What does it mean his bones rot? Everybody rots. Well, bones do not necessarily rot that quickly. The body decomposes. Aval de'atzamot could last hundreds of years, depending on, of course, where they buried, depending on the climate, perhaps, and the conditions of the soil. But one who had kin'ah, his bones will not last. They will rot. So we have an individual who does not have a good life and does not have a good afterlife either. Whereas one who does not have kin'ah, his bones will not rot. So it's very possible if you find human bones after hundreds of years intact, maybe that individual was not envious of anybody. Possibly. That would be a zechut, some sort of merit, that his bones will be preserved. Now, these midot we see from the very beginning. From the very beginning, we have episodes, incidents in the Torah of envy. It is human nature. That's what life is full of, unfortunately. All kinds of situations where people are envious of others. But there's no clear prohibition in the Torah, lo lekanot, not to be envious of somebody. It doesn't say that. Even though it's true, you may answer, well, it doesn't prohibit it because it's a human emotion. It's not an actual act, a physical act, which the Torah prohibits, physical acts. The Torah does not prohibit an emotion. It may advise us, it may discourage us, but it does not prohibit. Even though it is not directly prohibited, it is included. Apparently, you may say so, that it is included in the prohibition of lo taturu achre levavchem v'achre einechem. Don't go after what your eye sees and what your heart desires. Don't go after your heart, lo taturu achre levavchem v'achre einechem, and after what your eyes see. The eyes and the heart, the rabbis tell us, are agents of sin. One sees, one covets, and then, of course, one wants to actually carry out whatever he saw and that he covets now. So it all begins with the eyes and the heart. If one would not see it, then he would not covet it, he would not desire it. So perhaps one can say that in that prohibition of lo taturu, do not wander off and look at things that you're not supposed to look at and desire things that you're not supposed to desire, is also envy or jealousy. Nevertheless, even though there's no direct prohibition, there is consequences of jealousy that lead to a particular act that is prohibited. In other words, what is the direct consequence of jealousy? Many, many things. One of them is prohibited in the 10 Commandments. Lo tahmod. Lo tahmod means do not covet. It is not do not desire, because we have desires. What does to not covet mean? Anybody know what the difference between desiring something and coveting something is? Desire means you want to have it. He has it. She has it. I want to have it too. You know what covet means? To covet means to go over to that individual. Would you sell this to me? I like it so much, but I bought it. And you try to convince him you want it so much for yourself that you actually somehow pressure him into selling it to you or giving it to you. That's called lo tahmud. Do not go and take some sort of action to possess or to acquire something that already belongs to someone else, whether it's his wife or whether it's his car. It makes no difference. It's all lo tahmod. It's all included in the prohibition of not desiring or coveting something that does not belong to us. This coveting, this lo tahmod, is a direct result of kin'ah. It doesn't just come up by itself. So the root of lo tahmod is kin'ah. Kin'ah may not be directly prohibited, but lo tahmod is. It's one of the 10 Commandments. And it is a direct result of having an envious disposition. Psychologically, what is going on here? Why is the person envious? Where does it start? We said that envious or envy or jealousy is, of course, something that is emotional, something that is psychological. It's a certain feeling that a person has. But what is it exactly? Can we define it a little bit better? After all, we're going to eventually try to see tonight how to deal with it. In order to properly deal with this problem, we're not just going to talk about it, describe how bad it is. We want to know how to help ourselves and help others who may have this weakness. So we have to identify it, we have to recognize it. So what is kinah at its very, very base? What is that? Low self-esteem. Not necessarily. Low self-esteem is another aspect of a certain weakness that may exist in certain people, but that's not necessarily the root, or that's not necessarily what's responsible for the kin'ah. Greed. Well, greed is another midah in its own right. It's another weakness. It's another characteristic. Yes. Well, tzarut ayn is really something else which is very similar and related to kin'ah. A narrow eye, which means not to be happy for someone else, which is even worse than kin'ah. You know why? Because kin'ah says basically, I want what he has, and tzarut ayn says, I don't want him to have what he has, even if I don't get it. It has to do with begrudging. We'll get to it, B'ezrat Hashem. The basic idea or the basic symptom that produces kina is in the Kabbalah identified as chisaron. A person feels he's lacking something. It's a lacking. Chaser li mashu. He feels he's lacking. He feels he needs something. And therefore, he is able to be mekaneh, or it produces kina if somebody else has it. Very simple. Now, how do we know? It's very easy actually to see it, how it is a chisaron. Because there is an outward appearance and there's an internal feeling. The outward appearance, what's seen on the outside, is that a person feels he needs something, right? That's why he's jealous of that. So on the outside, he's demonstrating by words or by his eyes or whatever, that he wants something. It really says something about how he feels internally too. It's not only about an object now that he's identifying that he wants or he needs, it's also about that internally he's lacking. Now, is he lacking this car? No. When I say lacking, it's not just lacking a particular specific object for which he is envious of. Lacking means that deep down, he's unhappy. He's incomplete. Remember when we started off last week in the introduction, we talked about shlemut, about completing oneself, about a tremendous amount of work that one needs to devote during his life on his midot. Why is that? Because a person is incomplete when he's born. He needs to mature, he needs to grow physically, and emotionally and psychologically, he needs to work on himself, to perfect himself. We all have weaknesses and strengths, and that's why we're here. If we would all be perfect, we wouldn't be here. So Kabbalistically, if you want to say so Kabbalistically, in other words, on a deeper level of understanding, this kin'ah, which is the midah that we're speaking about tonight, is a chisaron. It demonstrates, or it is indicative that the person is lacking. He feels he's lacking, and he is really lacking something, lacking imperfection, of course, but it's not just imperfection, because a lot of people are lacking in other ways in their perfection. This is really a true lacking, which really is closer to a complete absence of happiness or contentment with oneself. And that is why it demonstrates or it displays itself in various ways. When a person is unhappy, well, you can see it on his face, he's sad too. There are various expressions of a person who's unhappy. But one of them is kin'ah. It's not so obvious. If you dig a little bit deeper into it, that is the base. The base is a certain chisaron in this individual. A person, therefore, who wants to aspire to become complete, to perfect himself, to refine his character, needs very, very much to work on this particular midah. There are a lot of midot, a lot of characteristics that we need to work on. This one is extremely important. You're going to say, why this one? I mean, does everybody have it? Well, you're going to soon see what Shlomo HaMelech has to say about how many people have this. Some people don't even know that they have kinah. But one who really, really wants to work on himself, this is one of the midot that cannot escape him. The rabbis in the Sifrei Musar, in the books that are written about Jewish ethics, also tell us that this midah is dangerous. Dangerous, don't think of dangerous meaning to other people necessarily, dangerous to oneself, because it's me'anaf ha'ka'as. Kin'ah is from the branch of anger. As we will see during the next months, there are midot that are related. Like you just mentioned, sarut ayin, having a narrow eye and not being happy for others, is somewhat related to kin'ah. Well, ka'as is in some ways related to kin'ah, anger. The rabbis call it an anaf min ha'ka'as. It's a branch of ka'as. Now, why would it be a branch of ka'as? Think about it. Why would they say that it's a branch of ka'as? I mean, they may have had other things in mind. They obviously meant that they are a little bit related. Person who's angry, who's jealous, may be deep down also a little bit angry at someone else. But it's not obvious. It's not even on the surface. Ka'as you sometimes even see. Kin'ah you don't always see. You can sometimes detect it, but no. So what did they really mean by anaf? Perhaps one idea of how the two are related is as follows. One of the things that the Zohar says imprisons one very, very much, like in a cage, is kas. A person who's angry, he has a new boss that is controlling him. It's called anger. An angry person is a prisoner of the kas. And the Zohar goes even further, saying he's like Oved Avodah Zarah. He's like worshiping idol. Which idol? The kas. He's worshiping his anger. He can't, in other words, he's so subservient to it. He's so controlled by it. So he's a prisoner of kas. Well, the same is true about kin'ah. A person who is mekaneh, in some ways, he's also a prisoner of that kin'ah. He can't get rid of it. It's hard for him to release himself of that. So perhaps in this way, the two are related. That the kin'ah is a branch of the kas because it imprisons one. It really controls him. As we will soon see, it really affects a person's life. Envy or jealousy. Yeah. Now, this particular midah, it's not easy to get away from. Why is it not easy to get away from? Because the Midrash says, Kiyum kol ha'olam talui bezeh. The entire world really depends on this. The entire world depends on kinah? Yes. As the rabbis tell us, that it's only because of kinah that people build homes and buildings, that people work, that people get married, because they see others do it. And many, many times, they want to do it because they want to copy others. So a lot of the kiyum of the world, the building of the world, new businesses, competition, it is to outdo someone, to outperform, to do better, to be like him. The problem is that people, of course, are envious of the wrong things sometimes, of the wrong people. But that is what happens in the big world. And that's, the rabbis call that kiyum ha'olam. It's actually helpful in some ways, and that is why we have, whether it's marriages or buildings or businesses, we have it a lot of times because of kinah. On the other hand, even though kinah produces this kiyum ha'olam, it also brings about machloket. It's also destructive. Who was jealous in the Torah, and because of his jealousy created a big, big machloket? Korach, yeah, right.
So was Cain in heaven.
And so was Cain, right? As we started off saying, that is why we chose this as the first midah. It appears in the very beginning of the Torah, leading to machloket, leading to murder, and to other problems. But not only is this a problem of what it causes to others or what it causes in one's immediate environment, in his family, in his business, internally, there's an internal struggle as a result of the kin'ah that this individual now is going through. You have no idea what this man is going through, this man or woman, through anxiety, through fears and phobias, through all kinds of concerns that are totally not necessary, just because of his kin'ah. He can't sleep. He doesn't have an easy life. He has no peace. Right. Certain people more, certain people less, obviously. But this is some of the things that in an individual who's really obsessed with kinah, who really has this midah, he doesn't have an easy life. And that is why the rabbis tell us, just take a look at the long list of individuals shenichshelu v'ne'evdu min ha'olam, that actually made terrible mistakes and actually lost their life because of kinah. Cain, Korach, Bil'am, Doeg, Achitofel, Gehazi, Adoniah, Avshalom, Uzziah, amongst many that are listed. Great people, famous people, who lost. Not only did they not get what they wanted, they lost what they had to begin with. That's what the rabbis tell us. A person who's mekaneh, who wants something, he will not only not get what he wanted, he will also lose what he started off with. Have you ever heard of people going to Las Vegas and losing money on the, whatever it is, poker, whatever it is that they're, what is that? Blackjack? How do you know about that? Yeah, okay, Baruch Hashem, yeah. Gambling, yes. Yeah. Oh, good. Gambling. And they put $100 and they lose another $100, $500, $1,000. Then they mortgage their house. Everything goes. You know, they just can't lose, especially if somebody else wins. So a lot of people have lost their money, they've lost their lives because of kin'ah. People are bitter People are totally unhappy, all because of this one midah called kina. Okay, now that we understand a little bit what is going on with this individual who's experiencing this midah, poor guy, poor fellow, how do we take care of it? As I promised, we're not just going to talk about the midah. We hopefully will do our best to try to identify it and see what can be done about it. The first thing that a person has to realize when he has this midah is that his thinking is wrong. Point number one. His thinking is wrong. There's something wrong with his thinking. Let me give you a quick example. A nice, cute story. The Chafetz Chaim once met up with someone. So how's life? He asks him. Rabbi, it could be a little bit better. The Chafetz Chaim says, whoever told you it could be a little bit better? What makes you think it could be a little bit better? The way your life is now, that's the way Hashem wants it to be. How could you say it could be better? If I only had a little bit of money, maybe that would make things worse for you. Most people don't think like that. They actually think it could be better. But that's not true. That's the wrong way of thinking. The way a person's life is right now, that's the way Hashem wants it to be. Unless, of course, we're talking about one's spiritual life. Obviously, a person can always better himself. He can be a better person. He can be kinder. We're not talking about that. That's obvious. We're talking about one's life in general terms, his mazal. It is the way it needs to be. That's the proper way of thinking. And anyone who complains or who doesn't think so, he's basically saying, I'm unhappy with Hashem's decree of what kind of life I should have. If a person complains about it, or a person says something, he's basically saying, I'm unhappy with what he has in store for me. It's very simple. That is this is not my opinion, by the way. This is what the rabbis tell us. That a person who expresses dissatisfaction with his life, his physical life, not his spiritual life, it is indicative that he has complaints to Hashem. He doesn't think Hashem did a good job. Chas v'shalom. Yeah, well, obviously, yeah. But what is the truth? The truth is that there is no democracy in this world. What does that mean? There's no democracy? Yeah. Look around the world and you have different kinds of people. The facts are that people are different. Some are tall, some are short, some are talented with music, some are talented in some other way, some are very wealthy, some are not wealthy. People look different. People are stronger and weaker. There's all kinds of people. There's no democracy where everybody is born the same and looks alike. It's not true. I mean, even though Thomas Jefferson said all men are created equal, right? The real idea behind those words is that we all have the opportunity, hopefully, to be equal, to do the right things in the eyes of Hashem. Even though he may have meant something else, but that's the only equality there really is. There is no equality. People are just different. People are born in different places under different circumstances. So there's no real democracy. And why are people different? Because each one is given the tools that he needs to fulfill his mission. One of the ways that one can tell what his unique mission in this life is, that is no one else's mission, is by looking at what he has and what he does not have. In other words, if you don't have something, that's because that which you do not have is not part of your mission. That is why you don't have it. If you do have something that somebody else does not have, very likely it's one of those things that you need to accomplish your unique mission. So that's why a baker is not going to be envious of a shochet, a mohel, a tailor, a teacher. He's not going to care, he has such a beautiful knife to slaughter the cow. The baker, what does he care about that beautiful knife? He doesn't need slaughter cows. Is he going to be envious of something that he doesn't need? Right? A baker doesn't need that. In the same way, we do not have to be envious of that which we don't really need. Well, how do we know I don't need it? Because you don't have it to begin with. If you had to have it, you would have had it. Hashem has endowed, has given us certain talents and strength, each one of us, abilities, to do whatever our mission is. He gives us the kelim, klei avodah, the tools of the practice, right? Every practice has certain tools. We have a practice, we have a mission. Everyone has something to do in this world and accomplish. Everyone is unique. And he has been given the tools, the know-how, somehow the direction to be able to accomplish his mission. He may choose not to, that's already something else. He has free will. But he has the tools. So this is healthy thinking. This is the correct way of thinking. This kind of thinking helps one not to be mekaner in that which you don't have. You follow me? Doesn't that make sense? But people don't think like that. Right? This is the proper, correct way of thinking that the rabbis tell us, that it's very simple. If you don't have it, you were never meant to have it to begin with. It's not necessary for you. It may not even be good for you. There is a saying in English, something like, the food of some men is the poison for others. What may be good for you to eat may be poison for others to eat. Yeah. Whether it's an allergy or whether it's some other thing. What's good for some may not be good for others. Everybody is different in some way. Therefore, in this kind of thinking, we would not be envious of what the neighbor has. What the neighbor has may be what he needs. If I don't have it, it's because I don't need it. One of the problems in today's society, however, is that the many billboards and advertisements in newspapers and magazines have put a tremendous emphasis on convincing people that you need this. A new iPod comes out, you need it. As they say in Israel with the beer Maccabi, Tie gever, tishte Maccabi. You want to be a real man? Drink Maccabi. The beer. Well, what if I like Corona? No, you have to have Maccabi. Without Maccabi, you're not a man. So all this advertisement, all this shtuyot, all this nonsense that they're feeding us, you need to have this. Did you ever get a phone call? Mr. So-and-so, you owe yourself a vacation. Who told you I owe myself a vacation? I just got back from one. No, you owe yourself a vacation. We're going to give you a discount to Hawaii. And they're going to sell you, of course. They want to make money. They don't care about your vacation and your rest. You think they care about that? They want to make money. So they create needs. And what happens when needs are created and you don't have it and you can't get a hold of it? You borrow the money and some people steal the money because they have to have this. But whoever told you that you really need it? The advertisement. You don't really need it. Something that is a real need, once you get a hold of it, you feel very happy. You really do. If it's just a need because you were envious about it, but not a true immediate need, there will always be a need, because envy leads to continuous need. Once you get this, now you need something else. He replaced his car, he got himself a new, oh, they just remodeled the kitchen? Honey, it's time to remodel our kitchen. But we just did it 5 years ago. No, that makes no difference. People see what other... Right, people see what other people do, and that creates need. But it's not a real need. Is it a real need? Does it justify you spending $20,000 or more on a new kitchen? If yours is perfect, it's nice. Think about it. This world, of course, in our generation even more, is very materialistic, and therefore there's even more of a problem of kin'ah than ever. Because if there's a need, it's going to breed this kind of attitude of I have to have it. And this country, of course, sends you every Monday and Thursday a new credit card. Just take our credit card. No, 0% interest for the first 6 months, or whatever they say. You think they really want to help you? No, they want to charge you 18% afterwards. 18% interest. It's highway robbery. Yeah, but that's the business. And people who get used to living or buying things through a credit card, they sometimes buy beyond their means. So this mentality here in this country and in other countries that are very materialistic is really destroying people. Because when they get used to something, then they don't have it, it's very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. It leads to divorce. It leads to misery. People are so unhappy. You have to be very, very careful to just buy what you really can afford and what you really, really need. But people see what others do, then there's the advertisement, and that leads to the cycle of envy and later on worse things, Chas v'Shalom. Even though in the Torah it is not so clearly stated not to be envious, in the Ketuvim, in Mishlei, in Tehillim, in Kohelet, it's very, very much emphasized. Shlomo Melech says, Al yikaneh libecha b'chataim. Be very, very careful, especially not to be envious of chataim, of sinners. Why does he choose the sinners? Because one can easily sometimes observe sinners, of all people, who are very prosperous, very successful in life. If he did it this way, maybe I should do the same thing, even though what he did is not right, it's not kosher. Sinners, the worst of the worst. In other words, they did things that are not right, that are not legal. Be very careful with them, because that's not only going to be a problem in you being mekaneh, in being envious of them, you're going to fall in their trap. You're going to be caught one day. And they're going to be caught too. Sof ganav letliyah, the rabbis tell us. In the end, the thief is caught, he's hanged. Right now, it appears that they're getting away with it. Be very, very careful not to copy them, because then you're going to be copying trouble. Not just copying, not just being envious, but getting yourself into trouble. If you want to be envious, Al tikaneh b'chataim ela b'yirat Hashem kol hayom. Be envious of the righteous, of people who are truly yirei Hashem. I wish I could be like this tzaddik. I wish I could be learning a whole day. I wish I could be doing hasadim, acts of kindness, helping people, delivering food. You know, there's all kinds of acts of kindness that people amazingly devote themselves to do. Whether it's going to visit the sick, whether it's spending time with the elderly. There's old age homes. It takes time, it takes patience to listen to them, to their story. But you know how happy it makes them? They have no company. Their own kids sometimes don't come to visit them. So here you have an individual who takes of his time and goes and sits with them, or another one that delivers food anonymously to families who don't have enough food, or one who's learning. There's all kinds of good people, all kinds of good deeds being done. Those are the kinds of things that we should be envious of. Those are the kinds of things that we should attempt to copy or learn and train ourselves to do. These are positive things. If anything, this is what you should be envious of. Therefore, in helping oneself, not being envious of the wrong things, rabbis tell us, just remember, be happy with what you have, and the grass is not greener on the other side. It is not. There's an interesting midrash about this, how the grass is not so green on the other side. There was once an animal or another bird, I forget what it was, that approached a bird that was in a cage. It's a midrash in Kohelet. One bird or one animal approached the other one who was in a cage. And the bird that's outside the cage tells the bird in the cage, how lucky you are that you're being fed every day on a regular basis. And I have to fetch my food. And the bird in the cage tells him, you don't realize what's going on? This is terrible luck on my part. Why? He's in a cage. He's free. And soon, what do you think all this food is for? They're going to slaughter me. All this food that I'm getting for free is not just for free. One of these days, they're going to take me out of this cage. So not only am I in a cage, what is ultimately all this food for, if not for the slaughter? The one standing outside looks at things, how rosy they are. He gets his food. Every morning he has food sitting next to him. He's lucky. No, he's unlucky. He has the bad mazal, right? But people don't see it that way. And the rabbis tell us if a person had a choice, if he were to be shown the troubles of the neighbor with all the good things that the neighbor has, and his troubles, he would not want to exchange his troubles for the neighbor's troubles. Be happy, be content with what you have, the good and the bad. And there's no such thing as really bad. It's all good, it's all Mer Shamayim. This kind of attitude, this kind of thinking helps us escape from kina. There are some times, however, people are unaware that they have kina. They're unaware that they're envious. Tell you a story. There was once an individual who came to the rabbi because he had a disagreement with a business partner, with a neighbor, whatever it was. And the rabbi, the psak din of the judge was, you're wrong and he's right. And he started yelling at the rabbi, you don't know what you're talking about. It's a mistake. It's not fair. He started making a whole balagan in the court. And the rabbi says, wait a minute, I don't understand you. You were so nice a week ago when you came to me with a question about trefot. In the olden days, you don't hear about it too much today. When somebody slaughtered a cow and a question developed, whether it's kosher or not, they went to the rabbi. And if the cow was taref, this could mean a tremendous financial loss. If it's taref. Remember, these are poor people. They bought a cow, hundreds of dollars, and now it's taref. What do? You have to sell it to the goy for less than what it's worth. Today, of course, everything is done in the company. They decide there if it's good or not. They don't take it if it's no good. They don't buy it, depending on the arrangement. But once upon a time, it was a big deal. So the rabbi says, I don't understand you. Last week, you came to me with a question about the cow you slaughtered, and I said it was taref. And you said, fine. You didn't complain. That was a tremendous amount of money, much more than this. Why are you so upset about this? He says, Rabbi, you don't understand. It's not because I lost. It's because he won. It's not because I lost. It's because he won. That's what bothers me. At least he admitted, right? At least he admitted what was bothering him. See how sometimes people don't realize, but they are bothered not that they lost something, that they don't have something, that somebody else has it. And that, of course, leads to the midah that you mentioned earlier, tzarut ayn, which is related to kinah, but it's something else, that people are not happy when others have something. It's not that they want it so much for themselves. They couldn't care less. They don't need it. I don't want him to be happy. I don't want him to be the winner. And that's a big problem. That's very, very ugly midah. In some ways, it's worse than kina. Sure. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. In Sefer Orchot Tzadikim, which is one of the famous Sifrei Musar that I told you about, there's a beautiful mashal, a nice parable about a homed and a kanai who came together. One who covets and who wants, and one who's jealous. And the king told them, one of them, choose whatever you want from me, and I will give double of what you want to your friend. So the jealous man, of course, did not want to choose first. Because if I choose something first, my friend is going to get double. And the one who covets also didn't want to choose first because he wants everything. So the guy who covets convinced the kanai, the jealous man, okay, just go ahead and choose something already. So look what the kanai did. He tells the king, take out one eye from me. So you can take out two eyes from the other guy. Just, it's a mashal, of course. It tells us how certain people feel. If I can't have it, he can't have it. This kind of attitude that is terrible. Okay, so we're talking about tipul. We're talking about how to deal with this problem of kinah. And we said how it's very important to be happy, how to recognize that whatever Hashem has given us is what was meant for us to have, that everybody's unique in some ways, that there's no need to be envious of what he has because it's not something that I need to have. Right? This is positive thinking. There is a midah that Bezat Hashem will speak about separately, and that we already spoken about in the past. It's called bitachon. Bitachon, not only bitachon atzmi, which is self-confidence, but bitachon in Hashem. And I briefly want to just talk about it, even though some of you may remember from the past that we spoke at length about it, but it's a very important midah. People, when they say, Ani ma'amin b'Hashem, I believe in Hashem, that's very simplistic, because to believe in Hashem only means that I believe that He created the world. True emunah in Hashem is not only that He created the world, but that He continues to direct it and to supervise it. He knows our thoughts. He's aware of everything. He's in control of everything. And he can make changes if he wishes to. So emunah is much broader than just there is a creator to the world and it's not a big bang or evolution. Creation, creator, yes, but it's this creator who akol yachol. He does everything. He can do anything, and he does so. And there are miracles, and there are changes according to his will, especially with the Jewish people who are so close to him. And that is why we pray to him, because we believe that that he hears our prayers and that he can answer our prayers. So he's not just a creator who left the scene. He's still around, observing, and knows exactly everything. That kind of extensive emunah is called bitachon b'Hashem, that I trust in him. I trust that what he's done for me is for my best, that he gives me what I need, whether it's parnasah, whether it's health. Everything is from him. Whether it's shidduchim, everything is from him. The only thing that I decide is yirat shamayim, whether I behave myself or not, whether I do mitzvot or not. There's a certain limited area that I make decisions, and that's the area of free will. You can, of course, make the decision to catch a cold or not, and that's if you dress well or not. You can make a decision to smoke yourself to death, chas v'shalom, if you smoke. Yeah, but these are very limited things that we can do. The rest is up to Hashem. So bitachon b'Hashem implies that he knows what's best, he's in charge, he controls, he rules, and he determines everything. And the rabbis tell us, if you really have bitachon b'Hashem, then you have to convince yourself that en adam nogea b'ma shemuchan lechavero. A person does not touch what is due or what is coming to his friend. You cannot touch it. If something is due to him, what is that? The what? Yeah. Yeah, that's another Gemara that says that a person does not even hurt his finger. You know how sometimes we're making salad, cutting a vegetable, and you get a little cut in your finger. Or you hit your finger in something. You don't even hurt yourself a little bit unless they announced in heaven he's going to hurt himself now. Yes, every little thing like that is also decreed in heaven. You don't just, when you're walking down the street on the sidewalk, and sometimes, we trip because the sidewalk is not even, the surface is not even. You think it's the street? No, yes, it's uneven, but they made you fall. They made you not see it. They made you distracted. Why? Because every little yisurin, every kind of suffering is a kapara. It's some sort of atonement. So that's true. Everything is from heaven. But we're talking about right now is parnasah. And my famous example, my favorite one, is a person who has a hardware store. Here on Beverly Boulevard for 25 years. Now 25 years, a good business has a name. And that name is worth money when you sell it. Comes along another Jew, not an Armenian, not somebody from some other country, another Jew, your own, and opens up another hardware store right across the street from you. And you're there for 25 years. How are you going to feel? Well, a lot of people who have kinah may have kinah and kaas now. They may be angry, upset. Some may even do something about it. There are stories about people sending the mafia to warn, and I just heard one in Israel. But somebody I know who got into trouble because of that. People are envious. People are afraid of the parnasah. What does true bitachon b'Hashem say? LA is a big city. There's room for everybody. Nothing will happen to your parnasah just because somebody else opened up the same store across the street. Is that nice for somebody to think like that? Very nice. That's positive thinking, but that's not enough bitachon. You know what more bitachon is? This man is not only okay and calm, that's very nice. He goes across the street and says, Shimon, Mazal Tov, B'sha'a Tova. May you succeed, Aslaha. Is that nice of him? Very nice and very special. It shows more bitachon in Hashem, no worries. Do you think that's a big deal? No, that's not such a big deal yet. Some people will do that. You know what's a big deal? You know where real bitachon b'Hashem is? Shimon, I'm very happy for you that you opened up your new business. If you need any help, I'll be glad to help you. You want a list of all my clients and all my producers and my sellers and everything? I'll be happy to share them with you. You know where you can get the best deals and buys? I'll be happy to share. How many people would do that? They're not on that level of bitachon. They really are afraid that that individual is going to take away their parnasah. But it's ridiculous. The rabbis told you it's not true. But they don't have that kind of bitachon. And I have this a lot on people who work on Shabbat, unfortunately. Rabbi, they tell me it's my best day. They show me a stack of cash. They made the most money of every other day of the week. They don't realize that 3 months down the road, they're going to have to replace the transmission of the car. They're going to have attorney fees. They may have a pipe burst underneath their house where they may have to call a plumber to... All the money that they made on Shabbat is going to disappear. Because they don't see, they don't add 2 and 2. Hashem doesn't make it too obvious, obviously. He wants to conceal himself, so you should have real free will to do right and wrong. Right or wrong. Person who has real bitachon b'Hashem therefore knows that Shabbat is a day of rest. Hashem blessed me, allowed me to work for 6 days, and promised me that I will have what I need in 6 days a week. And sometimes He gives it to you in 1 day. You don't have to work the rest of the week. It all requires His bitachon. So this midah can help an individual with a lot of midot that he has trouble with, whether it's kin'ah, whether it's kas. I mean, after all, let's talk about just one example of kas. Somebody embarrassed you. Somebody made you feel bad. Somebody even slapped you in the face, chaz v'shalom. If you have real bitachon, you would not react to it. You would say kaparat avonot. But some people have a hard time. They need to react. I'm going to show him. I'm going to get back with it. Right? It's a lack of bitachon. It's the wrong attitude, the wrong way of thinking. It's not understanding what exactly is happening. So bitachon is a very important midah that will help one with kinah. Rabbis tell us and encourage us to get used to being sameach b'simchat azulat, to go to another person's wedding, to be happy for him. Don't go there for the food. Some people just go for the food. Great, I have a good meal tonight. No, that's not the idea. You have to be mesameach hatan vekala. You go to a wedding, you gotta perform the mitzvah. You think he actually paid for your platter just for you to eat? He agreed to pay for your platter, so you should be there at his wedding and make him happy. And be happy for him. A person who does not make the Chatan v'Kala happy, he's considered gozel. He's stealing the food. Yeah, that's what the rabbis tell us. He's stealing the food that was served to him because the Chatan and Kala did not intend to feed him just to feed him. They intended him to make them happy, to come and to dance and to wish them well. Otherwise, they don't need to. Let him eat at home, right? So one has to cultivate that, to be happy for someone else. And how are we happy with someone else? By wishing them. Sometimes it's hard. A person who doesn't really mean it and says Mazal Tov, he's faking it. Go ahead and fake it. Better than nothing. Get it out of you. Say it. Yeah. Say it. Mazal Tov. All the best. Say it, because you have to cultivate being happy for someone else. Another thing is, of course, litztaer betzaro. What's litztaer betzaro means? In the same way you're happy for him, you have to feel his pain. That is what Nichum Avilim is all about. Partially, is to comfort those who have lost someone dear to them. Someone who's mourning, being there. Your loss is our loss. Your pain is our pain. That's very nice. These words are soothing. They don't help bring back the dead, but they're soothing. They help. Because what does it accomplish, Nichum Avilim? It says basically what the rabbis tell us. Tzarat Rabim, the tzara of the Rabim, a person who shares in the tzara of others, it's Hatzi Nechama. Well, it's a half a consolation. In other words, when a person sees, wow, all these people feel for me, it's a consolation. In other words, he's no longer alone. So comforting someone apparently helps, especially if you say the right words. You have to be very careful. It's very tricky when some people don't know what to say. They say the wrong thing. Oh, what did he die of? Sometimes it's a very, very sensitive question. You have to really, really be careful. Imagine somebody going to visit the sick. There's a sick man, very sick. He says, oh, what do you have? Oh, I know somebody just like you who died when he was 25. How could you say that to the guy? Right? you have to be very, very careful what you say. People who really care, of course, about someone are going to be careful with what they say. So you have to develop a sensitivity of being happy for someone during the times that he's happy, and to feel for him in the time of his pain and sorrow. And in this way, to develop a stronger kesher with people, humanity, sensitivity, it helps do away with the kina. Now, as far as diet, is there anything that we could eat that can rid of the kina? Anybody want to guess? There's something out there that you can really add to your food, and it will help remove kina. I guess the Persians know all the answers, huh? Garlic. Yes, you're right. Garlic has a segula, has the ability of removing kin'ah and instilling simcha. It has other things that it does too. I don't want to list them to you right now, another time perhaps. Garlic has a lot of things that it does. It really does a lot of. Garlic is great. It's a miracle herb, a miracle vegetable, whatever you want to call it. Yes, it strengthens the immune system. It instills happiness. Don't have too much garlic tonight, especially if you're sleeping next to someone. Okay. but in general, I don't know how effective they would be. You want the real thing. But that's what the Gemara says. The Gemara says garlic helps to eliminate kin'ah velachnis simcha. Another one that is mentioned in the Gemara is pat shachrit. Pat shachrit means have a good breakfast. If you have a good breakfast, it will help you feel better during the day. You'll be happier. Pat shachrit is especially bread, not just fruit. Because if you don't have a good breakfast, you're hungry. And then you start gnashing on chocolate and things, and then you see you're gaining weight and you really feel depressed. Right? So you want to eat right. You want to eat healthy. And they said, Rabbi tells, pat shachrit, eating a good breakfast in the morning also is a very healthy thing, and it brings about all kinds of good things. One of them is it removes kina and brings ahava. Just I wanted to share with you that a diet can make a difference. Just a couple more points that one needs to be careful with kina. Even if one does not have kina, Baruch Hashem, you have to be careful not to draw kina onto you. Don't be a show-off. Don't wear fancy clothing and jewelry, especially not where there's too many goyim. Rabbis tell, be careful when you're in front of Esav and Yishmael, these two. Esav and Yishmael, don't stand out. Otherwise, one of these days, they're going to say, there goes the Jew that takes our money. The rich, the Jews are the rich. Be very careful not to show your wealth. As much as possible, be modest. Don't bring upon yourself kin'ah. In your home, don't cause kin'ah amongst the children. Yaakov, through making the ketonet pasim for Yosef, by showing favoritism to Yosef, brought about kin'ah between the brothers, and later sin'ah, hatred to him. Right? So be careful not to bring about kin'ah in your home. Another very important point that the Chachamim used to do, which is something that we can adopt, is litpalel, is to pray that we should not be envious of anyone and nobody should be envious of us. You need to pray. There's a lot of things that we can't control. Can we control that people should not be envious of us? It's hard. We can try. Prayer is important. A special prayer, Hashem, and it is found in the Sidurim that we should not be envious of others and others should not be envious of us. Yeah, of course, because jealousy could lead to the evil eye. Sure. Another very important idea that can help us with kin'ah also in general is to do good unto others. Rabbis tell us whoever gets used to helping others, helping and doing good, using his money for a good cause, as a result of having a reputation that this man is a benefactor, he's a good man, he's a helpful man, people will not be as jealous of him. People will tend to talk negatively or look at the person more negatively if he's known to be stingy or if he's known not to be kind. But a person who gets a reputation as being a kind man, who does good to others, it will help him not get into trouble, not be in people's mouths in a negative sense, in a negative way. What we've done so far right now is covered kin'ah of the bad kind. there is one form that is actually good. What is that? Rabbis call that kinat sofrim tarbeh chokhmah. The envy of those who are learned, those of the scholars, it increases chokhmah. When one sees how the other is more knowledgeable, has learned more, has accomplished more in learning, that increases chokhmah. How does that increase chokhmah? Because it encourages him to want to be like him or to outdo him. That's okay. That's welcome. That's positive. That's healthy. So if it's that kind of kina where a person, as I said in the very beginning, wants to be like the good people, that's perfectly fine, acceptable and encouraged. That's the only good kina. To be mekaneh b'yirat Hashem, to be mekaneh b'chokhmah of the chachamim, to want to be like them, that desire and that envy will actually produce good results. It will make you study harder. It will make you work harder on your midot to be like them. That's why that is a good form of kina. Another kina that is also seen in the Pesukim, in the Torah, is a kina for Hashem. It is to be a zealot for Hashem, to be concerned for Hashem. In other words, when things are not right, then you are jealous for Him. As the Zohar says, when you really love someone, you are possessive of them. You don't want to give them up. You want to do for them. And you see somebody else harming them, you are jealous. In other words, you are jealous that they are harming them, that they're taking them away, that they're doing something bad to them. As the Zohar says, that kind of kina, krucha be'ahava, it is attached to ahava. It goes with ahava. That is a positive kina. That kina have for Hashem. When you see something wrong, people doing something terrible wrong, stand up for Hashem. Be mekaneh for Hashem. Just like Hashem is mekaneh for us too. That shows closeness. That shows that you're really concerned when you have this envy of how could he be doing this to Hashem? I need to do something about it. That is a good kina. I want to finish with the pasuk, a famous pasuk in Mishlei, in Kohelet. Shlomo Melech wrote that one of the things that he observed in life was v'ra'iti ani et kol amal v'et kol kishron ha'ma'aseh ki kinat ish mere'eu. I've seen so many things in life, the good and the bad. The bad is kol amal. Amal means all the sins, all the terrible things, the wars, the tragedies, the fights amongst family members, amongst nations. That's called amal. All the terrible things, all the bad. I've seen all that, and I've seen all the kishron ha'ma'aseh, all the beautiful masterpieces too, all the good things. You know what they have in common? Ki kinat ish mere'eu. It's all from kina, the good and the bad, the nice and the ugly. What drives people, he says, in this world is kina. Everything is about kina. Kina is what's driving this whole world. Many, many things happen in this world as a result of kina. Gam ze hevel u're'ut ruach. It's all vanity. It's all silly. It's all really nothing. What is, of course, he's trying to tell us is that look at this midah, this terrible midah of kina. For the most part, it's not a good midah. How it causes, how it brings about all kinds of things. Even some good things, but a lot of the bad things, the competition between brothers and sisters sometimes with inheritance, money, as an example. What do you think that is? That is also kina, it's also the coveting, the materialism, it's many, many things together. But one of the things that is generating the fight is kina. Oh, but he already has millions of dollars. What do they need this for? What do you care? Right? You have to be very, very careful, very, very careful, with the proper thinking. Remember what we said in the beginning. If Hashem wants you to have something, you'll get it, and you'll get it easily. I used the example of somebody sees a $100 bill on Shabbat on the street. What do? So the smart Alex says, I push it with my foot. I cover it. I put it. Try to put it into the bush. Pick it up Motzei Shabbat. Even though he may not be doing something completely asur, it all depends if it's a reshut rabim, if you're allowed to carry or move it, but he's not going to touch it. It's muktzeh. Right. Or my other example, a guy who's a broker who's told, listen, you want this deal? A beautiful home in Bel Air. You're going to make 6%, $25 million, 6% is a lot of money. There's one catch, you got to come and sign on Shabbat. Otherwise, I give it to Coldwell Banker or someone else. Wait a minute. How can I do it? Shabbat? Oh, I remember I can perhaps sign with my left hand. With a shinui. If Hashem meant for you to have this money, He would give it to you in a kosher way. If something is not 100% kosher, then it's not meant for you, perhaps. Be very careful with the proper way of thinking. If Hashem wants me to have something, I'm going to have it. If not, I'm not going to try to get it in the wrong way. The most powerful and perhaps the best midah that can help us rid kin'ah altogether, besides bitachon b'Hashem, besides proper thinking, is midat simcha. Midat Hashem that we'll speak about separately. I consider simcha, which is one of the most difficult midot to acquire, by the way, very difficult to be happy constantly. I consider to be the mother of all cures, the mother of all ills. Not the mother of all ills, the mother of all cures for all ills. In other words, it is the best cure. The best cure for a person is to be happy, to be constantly happy with whatever his circumstances are. Why is it the best and why is it the most important? Because what did we start saying in the very beginning? Kin'ah drives a person from this world and the world to come. Well, simcha can lengthen your years. Ask people who have lived over 100. What's your secret? And one lady just told somebody, she's 115, she already passed away. When they asked her the question, she says, I don't know, ask God. She didn't know. But the vast majority of people who have lived many years, they all said something very similar. Lo lakachti shum davar lalev. I didn't take anything personal, didn't get upset. Some of them said didn't drink and didn't smoke. Well, that helps too, right? But many of them said, I was always happy and content. And many of them were even had a sense of humor. They lived a good life. Remember, what's his name with the cigar? Huh? George Burns. He had a cigar. He smoked. But he was happy, right? He had a sense of humor, I believe, right? A lot of these people have a good sense of humor. They're happy. They make others happy. They make themselves happy. So this simchat chaim not only leads to a healthier life, it does apparently, lengthy years. It means that you will not have the stress, not the worries, and not all the ulcers and all the problems that people have as a result of not being happy, of being sad and being depressed and being nervous and being worried, which kills you health-wise. Besides all this beautiful midah called simcha, of course, and gives us the stimulus, encourages us to be able to get up in the morning, to live our lives, and to devote ourselves for Hashem and the mitzvot. You want to serve Hashem b'simcha. You don't want to serve Hashem, wow, this is a burden. It's so difficult to be Jewish. Chas v'shalom. It's so beautiful. It's so nice. For every day that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives me back my neshama when I wake up in the morning, what do we say? Modeh ani lefanecha. We thank Hashem. But I've got nothing to do today. The fact that you woke up this morning is already something. Be happy for that. Look at the good in life, and B'ezrat Hashem, you will stay alive a lot longer, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, so next week, B'ezrat Hashem, we'll continue with the next midah.